Hey, all my Capricorn friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your March 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. If you don't know your rising sign, you might want to go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location to determine that information. These videos are also applicable for Capricorn rising, Capricorn moon, Capricorn sun, as well as any stelliums, which is 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Capricorn. And if you are familiar with your chart, you're familiar with the house systems, maybe a little bit more advanced with astrology, you may want to look at the Placidus house system. I personally have a late degree rising sign, which pushes my first house mostly into the 12th house and makes my first house what would be mostly my second house in whole sign. I hope that made sense to you because it does make a significant difference in your viewpoint in the world. But for all intents and purposes, for the masses and for ease, we're going to do this in whole sign Western astrology. And this is based on the Pacific time zone. So if you're not in the Pacific, please adjust for your location. All right, Capricorn, we are starting off with where we left off in February, with this conversation between Mercury, the Sun, and Saturn in the sign of Pisces, which is your third house of reading, writing, speaking, your everyday kind of interactions with your community, your where you run your errands, where you run your kids to school. It's a busy little house. It really is. And here, as in the sign of Pisces, I think what's going on is potentially really thinking about things that you have wanted to experience, things that you want within your daily life. And that could be anything from a close relationship to your siblings to moving to a neighborhood by the sea. There's Pisces. It could also bring up your early childhood experiences. The third house is where, we start our schooling, where we go into kindergarten or even potentially preschool, and we start to see how our lives are different than the way other people live. And so this to me is the potential of individualizing yourself as you review where you've been. Saturn rules history. It rules, the aging process. It rules elimination through some sort of pause. We can also take this in a way that you could start to root in feeling more creative about something or starting to use, Saturn is your ruling planet. And oftentimes it's just depicted as, sort of ambitious, but with this strictness, this tightness, this limiting, this sort of rigidity. And in Pisces, I think that Saturn is really starting to become a more peaceful, a more spiritual master, looking at history in a way and how it served the soul and how my fears actually have empowered me or given me information so that I could shine my light more brightly and assert myself to what I want, to when I'm alone and I'm dreaming and I'm just thinking about what's important to me. There's our Mercury. This is an opportunity to assert that, to coagulate that information in a way that sets a platform for moving forward throughout the 2024 and the years ahead. Your ruling planet is going to be going through your third house for about till 2026. And I think that from my perception as an intuitive and what I feel like a revolutionary astrologer is, I'm extracting the reward from Saturn now. I'm starting to say to Saturn, when I feel fear, when I feel an old story popping up that's repressing me, what does that have to offer me? And Saturn says, well, was that then or is this now? How do you want to shine your light in the world? And what are you focused on? What is your self-talk? What loops around in your brain? And you can't stop the loop, but an awareness of the loop can transform the whole situation into something that are spiritual legs to walk on. That's the way I want to put it. So all this is happening in your third house. We see here, Pluto is moved into your second house of, using your skills. With Aquarius overlaid, we would see using your genius and really building. And I want to offer this because Pluto, while it was going through your first house, I'm sure it completely, rearranged how you view yourself and those around you and what you want out of your life. Again, I want to focus in on what Pluto has to offer, because Pluto is a very small planet in the very depths of the darkness of our solar system, the furthest from the sun. And yet it has this heart on it. And I think that's Pluto's greatest gift, is how much am I willing to go from my heart and what's important to me versus what is expected of me, or to allow other people to have dominion over me through fear, power, and control. So this is going to be a big deal, because Pluto's going to move a little bit more into Aquarius before it dips back into your first house, and those final degree of Capricorn, really giving an opportunity to clear out any of the old story that has not been transformed into a tool. So this is very powerful. And this month of March is leading up to this grand conjunction. This grand conjunction is in your 5th house of creativity, of conception of children, of fun, of enjoyment, of laughter. It represents the performer, the clown, the comic, the child. And so I feel like for my Capricorns, one of the things that Pluto has done as it moved through your first house was to really try to disrupt some of that blind duty or blind obligation. It do because I say, not because you want to, so because of some authority over you. So this is an opportunity to really use your talents and your skills to expand your business over the internet, potentially, or through technology, through a lightning strike idea, through being a little bit rogue, kind of saying, what about me first? Again, 5th house of creativity, of conception, also rules high school children. There's all the houses have a layering on them, and it's making a very nice aspect over to this 3rd house of Pisces for you, where you're really starting to think in a dreamy, creative way. And Venus, that rules Taurus, is about using my skills. And Taurus also, while this can feel very quick and unexpected, there is a building here. And this is what I think the beginning of 2024 has been, as these two planets get closer and closer together for the grand conjunction in April. Let's go on to the 10th, where we have a couple things happening. We see that, let me jump over there. We see that Mercury has entered Aries. And I think this is powerful, because Mercury's really starting to think like a pioneer, starting to think like a hero in his own life. Like, how do I want to demonstrate what can be? How do I want to demonstrate myself creatively? We see that Aries is your 4th house. And when I look at that, I feel like this is for you, Capricorn, this particular house being the house of the self, is how will you find yourself through, well, let me rephrase that. Will Capricorn allow themselves to see how important their individuality is versus their duty to something that has just been? We think of the 4th house. It is a house of tradition, of where, my mama made pasta and I make pasta and you'll make pasta, kind of thing. And, of course, I'm using the Taurus energy of food, but it's just an example, because I think this is about starting to look at the things that have been given to you as cultural or as environmental or as family passing down, and now really delineating what works and what doesn't. It's not about trying to release anything. It's really more about what you want to move forward with versus leaving behind or leaving where it is. We have a new moon in Pisces at 1 a.m. Which is very powerful for me, because it is the 5th in a row new moon at the 20th degree. The 20th degree is a scorpionic degree of transformation. It is a deep dive into what is authentically true to my heart, what I think about when I'm alone, what I dream about when I'm alone. And I believe that Saturn has been asking me over and over again to continue to identify what I want to have sustainable, what I want to move forward with, what I want to take forward within not only this incarnation, but the incarnations that will follow. I think that this new moon is powerful because, again, it's the 5th in a row at the 20th degree. I look at the 5 and I think it's the Leo degree. What does Leo represent? Courage of the heart, to have the spine, to stand up and in my own self and what's important to me. And I think that this permissions that we've been giving ourselves to rewrite this human structure from duty to others, and then seeing how we are actually of service to others through fostering our own wants, desires, loves, creations, is so powerful for the Aquarian age moving forward. And this is where Capricorn's real leadership comes from, is sort of allowing for that transformation to be visible, that 10th house to be in the public eye as you go from potentially one way, in the way of I put others ahead of myself to my detriment, and now I'm willing to put myself first, so for their expansion. That's the way I want to say it. And I want to offer this because Capricorn, your first house is naturally in a good energy to your Taurus energy. They're always going to trine each other. So, and the 1st, the 5th, and the 9th house are Dharma houses. They are houses that reward for past lives where you've done good deeds. And you may not know it, but it's sort of like the trine aspect is it's very harmonious, it's very supportive, but it will not put you up on the stage. You've got to get on the stage yourself. 5th house, get it? Stage. All right, so this is important. All right, let's move on to the 12th. I'm going to go back to 12 p.m. And we've seen Venus is now moved into her domicile here in Pisces. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. She has moved into her exaltation, which is even more fun because when you're the lordess of the manor, there's work to be done. But when you're an honored guest, you get to relax. You get to sit down and hang out a little bit. But Venus is on a mission. When she was going through your first house, she was really thinking about how she wants to take her skills and capitalize on them. Again, this first house trining your 5th house of Taurus. And this Jupiter ruling business and commerce and influencers and marketing and branding and expansion over the internet, through technology in some way. So as Venus moves into this 4th house of her exaltation, this is where I think she really sits back and she starts to feel comfortable dreaming in a way that maybe she hadn't before. And as she creeps up onto Saturn, Saturn and Venus are going to start to have a conversation about creating structure, about, okay, so here's your dream, here's what it is you want to experience, and how, not how like as far as, oh, I'm going to put this Lego on top of that Lego, or I'm going to put blue on top of yellow. Not like that. The how is like, what is your deep belief, Venus? Where has your confidence and your ability to trust your heart over your eyes, over your nose, over your bank account? Where are you standing there? Because that's where the true reward lies. Saturn is the god of agriculture. So Saturn inherently knows that when you plant a seed, and we've just planted a seed a few days before this, that we've got to allow that seed to sprout, to, get a strong root system before it can actually grow into a fruit bearing or a prosperity bearing tree. So that is where Saturn and Venus are going to come into a summit. And Saturn's going to try to give Venus advice and tools on how to go through her spiritual journey to manifestation. It's like going into meditation first and connecting with the joy of your creation and then birthing that through inspired action. So I think this is very, very powerful. And we are really starting to feel this conjunction going on in your fifth house. I'm sorry, sixth house of work. So there's a real possibility that you could start to make money using your skills without even realizing it. I kind of think of it like this, Capricorn. There is a gal I saw on TikTok who makes crocheted hats. And I don't know where she stood before, but somehow she made a hat for Taylor Swift. The hat got to Taylor Swift, and overnight, her whole TikTok blew up with orders for hats. So it's something that can happen literally like kaboom. And I don't know how you prepare for it, except emotionally, being ready to receive. All right, let's go to the 20th, where we see the sun has now entered its exaltation in your fifth house of creation. So we've got Venus now in a very tight summit here with Saturn. They're talking strategy. They're talking about confidence. They're talking about the power of meditation and what that means. It's not just trying to quiet your mind. It's connecting to your value, connecting to your creativity, connecting to your talents. And here, as the sun moves through this sign, it's going to hit some very important transits that have been going on for a while. First, it's, as it moves through, it's going to hit that north node. And that north node is really going to encourage the sun to shine bright. What do I want for me? How do I assert my ego out in the world? And am I willing to be brave? Or am I stuck in a story where I'm alone and nobody ever sees me? This is really, really powerful because we're about to have an eclipse. And that eclipse is going to bring in some real powerful epiphanies about our relationship with ourselves. So, while Venus, I'm going to jump back over to Venus and Saturn. While they're having this conversation, here comes Mars bringing up the rear. Okay. Mars is going to enter Pisces on the 22nd. I'm going to go to the 23rd. This to me is a very significant transit for Mars because Mars spent 2023 and 2020 or 2022, 2023 with 7 months in Gemini. So as Mars has been going around the zodiac after that journey through Gemini, Mars got a real eye opener about how he interacts with other people, how his, speech, his cadence when he talks and walks and how he's showing up affects other people. So now I think that Mars, in that awareness and through its sojourn in Aquarius, had some genius ideas in how to be a peaceful warrior and how to be an inspiring warrior. So as Mars moves through the house of Pisces, well, normally we think Mars has been extinguished, not powerful. Mars learns how to swim with his torch in his mouth and keep it above water. That's a weird metaphor, but I'm going to use it anyway. I'm in that kind of mood, Capricorn. All right, let's jump over to our eclipse on the 25th. This is the first eclipse of 2024. It's happening at 12 a.m. And it is at 5 degrees of Libra. This is significant because it is conjunct the supergalactic center, which is at 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra. This is your 10th house of career, public eye. And I want to offer my Capricorns this. When we look at the supergalactic center and the Shapley cluster and the points within it, they really indicate a soul's intention. So when you have any personal planet near this particular point of 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra, especially like a nodal structure, it's going to indicate something that your soul wants to walk through so it can make choices. And those themes are really about the relationship with self, the relationship with your emotional body. And that relationship and the health of that relationship will really reflect how you represent in the public eye, the permissions you give yourself when you choose a position of career, even a marriage partner. When we're looking at Libra being your 10th house, it's an interesting dynamic because Capricorn, you rule the 10th house. And that's where we see authority, where we see, structure. And now we're seeing this Libra house. And the other thing that I think is interesting, because Capricorn squares Libra, and they always say that's tension. And yet Capricorn's ruling planet of Saturn is exalted in Libra. So I think this is where you have an opportunity to emotionally look at what you want, how you want to stand in in leadership for yourself, and in doing so, allowing yourself to birth yourself in a more individualistic way. A full moon always brings an illumination of some kind. And I think that Capricorn, while oftentimes you get a bad rap for the fear, depression, restriction, you're the one that holds space for human structure so that we don't run amok. And sometimes I think that within that, thinking of others and being aware of how you stand in leadership, it may not always support, some inner knowing, something that's important to your emotional body. And this full moon is going to eliminate that. And as we move into April, give you a real opportunity to distinguish yourself in a new way. The conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus in your fifth house can offer a lot of wisdom through playful activities, a lot of liberation through enjoyment and entertainment. And who knows, it could even bring unexpected romance. Jupiter rules the husband, the teacher, the shaman in ancient times. So who knows, that something could happen there. Let's move just to a little bit further into the month. We'll just go to the 29th. Excuse me, I'm going to go back to 12 p.m. And I come here because I think what's significant about this is we're seeing a concentration of the planets all in the Pisces, Aries, and now Taurus energy. And as we move into April, that's going to shift into the Aries, Taurus, Gemini energy. And this is going to be very powerful for 2024 and the second half of 2024. So being aware as Venus is starting to have a conversation with Neptune, super dreamy, super spiritual. It's almost as if after talking to Saturn and Saturn saying, you know what, maybe you can think about meditating every day, or maybe you can think about doing a vision board, something to anchor your spirituality in with your creativity. And now Neptune is going to support that even more by saying, let's talk to the universe. Let's talk to God. Let's talk to our angels. Let's tell them how we feel in an emotional way about what we want. And then as Venus enters what is considered her fall, okay, or I should say her detriment, because she's the ruler of Libra. I think that has been historically because women have not been appreciated for being powerful. So here, as Venus moves into the Aries energy, and Aries is your fourth house again of home, this is about asserting yourself in a way that allows for your individuality and for you to stand and thrive and blossom with a more, I think the way I kind of want to wrap this up for my Capricorns is to say, you may find yourself in a position where in order to be the hero in your life, you've got to be the villain in somebody else's, or at least the temporary villain, because you're not supporting them first. You're supporting your own vision of what you want for your life. And I think that's important because as a Capricorn knows, when you endure that little rough patch of somebody else's expectation, you can be of more benefit to them when you have a stronger platform for yourself, meaning the joy, the fun, the creativity, that gives us a wanting to give a leg up to other people versus a dutiful, I have to. We want to, for our Capricorns, I think kind of the theme for 2024 is I get to versus I have to. All right, Capricorn, that's it for March. We're ramping up for a really, really powerful year. I can't even fathom some of the things that'll probably happen on the outside that will contribute to our interior worlds, but it's going to be exciting. And ultimately, it's going to take us into a much more intentional and co-creative place. And that's exciting. I'll see you in April. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And if you would like to book a reading with me, I am available. My information is below in the description. And I'll see you in April, everybody. Have a great March. May.